In Healing the Modern Brain, Dr. Drew Ramsey, a psychiatrist and nutritional expert, offers a compelling new paradigm for mental health care, one rooted in both neuroscience and a holistic approach to wellness. The book opens with a frank discussion of the mental health crisis facing the modern world. Ramsey paints a vivid picture of rising rates of depression, anxiety, and burnout, especially among younger populations and working adults. Yet, he is quick to point out that while our problems are deeply modern, many of the solutions are ancient, resting in the choices we make every day, especially in how we nourish our bodies and minds. The heart of Ramsey's message lies in what he calls mental fitness, a concept he introduces early and builds upon throughout the book. Mental fitness is not simply the absence of mental illness but the proactive cultivation of mental resilience, clarity, and joy. It is a lifestyle, not a treatment plan. According to Ramsey, too many people wait until they are in crisis to pay attention to their mental health, but by then, it's much harder to rebuild. He argues that we must train and care for our brains the way athletes do for their bodies. One of the book's central themes is the mind-gut connection. Ramsey explores how our digestive system, and specifically our gut microbiome, directly influences our mood and cognitive function. He introduces the reader to the emerging science of psychobiotics and shows how inflammation, often caused by poor diet and chronic stress, can significantly disrupt brain function. The storytelling here is vivid. He recounts case studies of patients who, after years of battling depression, found significant relief by changing their diets and reducing inflammation in the body. Throughout the narrative, Ramsey shares intimate patient stories, each demonstrating how lifestyle interventions, particularly food, can make or break someone's mental health. One striking example is a young woman struggling with postpartum depression who, after months of pharmaceutical treatments with limited success, made radical changes to her eating habits. Through a mix of omega-3s, leafy greens, fermented foods, and reducing processed sugars, she found herself feeling present, grounded, and energized in a way she hadn't in years. These stories anchor the science in real life and show how hope is not only possible but practical. Ramsey doesn't dismiss medication or therapy. In fact, he is clear that for many people, these tools are necessary and life-saving. However, he challenges the reader to rethink the idea of pills as the first or only answer. Mental fitness, he argues, enhances and often complements traditional treatments. He calls this integrative psychiatry, a blend of science-backed medicine and everyday wellness choices that can empower people to take ownership of their mental health. The book takes a critical look at the modern food system and its psychological toll. Ramsey is unsparing in his assessment of how processed food, sugar-laden drinks, and nutrient-depleted meals have created a kind of fast food brain epidemic. He narrates this section with the tension of a thriller, showing how lobbying, food deserts, and poor health education have all contributed to a crisis where the very things people eat every day may be undermining their sanity. Yet, rather than shaming people, he gives them tools to fight back, shopping tips, recipes, and mindset shifts that make healthy eating accessible and even joyful. Sleep, movement, and connection also get their due in this journey toward mental fitness. Ramsey recounts the story of a corporate executive plagued by insomnia and existential dread who transformed his life through a combination of early morning walks, digital detoxes, and mindful cooking. Ramsey uses this narrative to illustrate how movement, especially outdoors, can repair neurological circuits, reduce cortisol, and build serotonin, a neurotransmitter essential for mood regulation. Another memorable narrative involves a college student suffering from social anxiety and chronic fatigue. Rather than simply prescribing an SSRI, Ramsey took her through a 6-week mental fitness regimen that included brain foods like wild salmon and turmeric, mindfulness journaling, and social connection exercises. By the end of the semester, she reported not only fewer symptoms but a renewed sense of purpose and creativity. This illustrates Ramsey's belief that healing doesn't just mean feeling less bad, it means feeling more alive. A recurring motif in the book is empowerment. Ramsey wants readers to see that their daily choices matter more than they think. He tells the story of a middle-aged man recovering from substance abuse who used the mental fitness principles to rebuild his identity. He began gardening, learning to cook, joining a local wellness group. These seemingly mundane actions, Ramsey explains, created neurological rewards that replaced destructive cravings and built a scaffolding for recovery. Ramsey interweaves practical exercises into the storytelling, asking readers to pause and consider their own habits and thought patterns. These moments never feel didactic, instead, they feel like invitations from a wise, encouraging mentor who's been in the trenches. One such moment asks the reader to examine their mental food map, reflecting not just on what they eat, but when, why, and how it makes them feel. The goal, Ramsey emphasizes, is not perfection, but awareness. Though deeply scientific, the book is never dry. Ramsey has a storyteller's touch. He compares brain function to garden ecosystems, synaptic health to relationships, and healing to cooking a nourishing stew. He makes the complex accessible without watering it down. In one chapter, he guides readers through a tour of brain anatomy while telling the story of a trauma survivor who learned to rewire her fear responses through diet and yoga. The science enhances the emotional impact rather than competing with it. There is also a spiritual undercurrent to healing the modern brain. Without leaning on religion, Ramsey explores themes of purpose, awe, and connection to something larger than the self. He recounts his own struggles with burnout as a medical professional and how he rediscovered joy through nature, cooking, and writing. This vulnerability makes the book feel less like a manual and more like a companion in healing. The final chapters are a call to action. Ramsey urges readers not to wait for the next crisis to begin healing. He outlines a 30-day mental fitness plan that weaves together the book's core principles: eat for brain health, move daily, prioritize sleep, cultivate joy, and connect with others. But more than a checklist, this is a mindset shift. He encourages readers to see themselves as stewards of their own brains, capable of both great damage and great healing. In the conclusion, Ramsey reflects on the cultural forces shaping our collective mental health. He argues that healing the modern brain requires not just individual change, but community transformation. He dreams of schools that teach brain nutrition, workplaces that prioritize emotional wellness, and healthcare systems that reward prevention over crisis response. This vision, while ambitious, feels grounded in the tangible stories he has spent the book sharing. Ultimately, Healing the Modern Brain is more than a self-help book. It's a manifesto for a new mental health era. Through rich storytelling, practical science, and an unwavering sense of hope, Dr. Drew Ramsey gives readers the tools not just to survive, but to thrive in a chaotic world. His message is clear: your brain can heal, and you have more power than you think.